Good evening, everyone. If I can invite you all to please take your seats and come on into the auditorium. We will be starting now. Okay. A warm welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for being a part of tonight's event. I want to welcome all of you. My name is Alex Mitchell. I'm the CEO of the Abbotsford Chamber of Commerce. And again, just another thank you to each of you for coming out tonight to participate in the democratic process. It's really great to see so many faces in the room. I also want to thank our candidates for taking the time to come out and participate this evening. Thank you to each of you. And this candidates meeting is going to focus on the riding of Abbotsford South. So all of your declared candidates are currently here today. I'd like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the unceded traditional territory of the Stolo people, and we appreciate the honor of living and working on this territory. I'd also like to welcome our partner organizations currently on the stage, the Abbotsford Downtown Business Association, joining us shortly, the Fraser Valley Indo Canadian Business Association, and the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board, alongside our Chamber of Commerce. Right now, I'll take the opportunity to invite Gurdeep Sahota, who's chair of the Government Relations Committee and a director on the board of directors for the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board. Gurdeep, if you want to come up to the stage.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's all candidates meeting. My name is Gurdeep Sahota, no relation to Mo. I have to clarify that some places. It's important. The mood changes, when I do that. I am the chair of the Stakeholders and Government Relations Committee of the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board and also an elected director there. On behalf of the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board, I want to say we are pleased to sponsor tonight's all candidates meeting. A bit about us. The Fraser Valley Real Estate Board represents 5,200 realtors and counting, working in the municipalities of Abbotsford, Mission, the city and township of Langley, White Rock, Surrey, and North Delta. Realtors guide, advise, and protect home buyers and sellers, and the board helps us ensure that we can support our clients through what can be one of the most significant transactions in their lives. The board also ensures that we are upholding the standards of the profession. They provide us with ongoing training, professional development, and they provide us with the latest data and analytics for the areas in which we work. We are also very active in the communities in the Fraser Valley. I want to briefly highlight the work of the Fraser Valley Realtors Charitable Foundation. Over half a century ago, 5 members of the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board bought 3.5 acres of land in Surrey, knowing that they wanted it to be used to benefit the community. They just didn't know how exactly at that time. Years later, the right time had come. Those members sold the land to the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board and with clear instructions that it be used to benefit the community. The proceeds from the sale were used to set up our charitable foundation. The Fraser Valley Realtors Charitable Foundation was established thanks to the generosity and foresight of those realtors and the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board, and now it is one of the largest foundations of its kind in Canada. Our goal is to create a Fraser Valley where vulnerable youth are protected and have healthy, stable environments to live, learn, and play. Supporting at-risk youth not only changes their lives, but strengthens the fabric of our society. And that is the main goal of our charitable foundation. We fund charities that work with at-risk youth. When young people are set on a safe and stable path, the entire community benefits, from stronger families to long-term economic growth and sustainable development. Through lots of hard work, we have donated more than $500,000 to date and are on track to donate close to $1 million per year, focusing on helping the kids in our community who need it most and ensuring that no child is left behind. Now, here are the latest real estate data for Abbotsford. Detached homes in Abbotsford saw a 44% increase in new listings from August to September, one of the largest month-over-month increases for the new listings in the Fraser Valley. This surge in new listings is complemented by a 19% month-over-month increase in sales for detached homes, a stark contrast to the rest of the Fraser Valley where sales of detached homes has dropped. This trend emphasizes Abbotsford's relative affordability as more buyers are drawn to the area in search of homeownership. However, this shift in demand may have impacted other property types. Sales of townhomes and apartments have declined by 27 to 28% compared to last year. Prices across the Fraser Valley dropped in September, and Abbotsford was no exception. Condominiums dropped by 2.2%, detached homes declined 1.8%, and townhomes were down by 1%. But if you look at prices over the last 5 years, Abbotsford has seen price increases anywhere from 49 to 54%. Interesting times indeed. Turning back to tonight's events. Elections are an important time when we, as citizens, get to cast our vote to elect officials who can be our voice to create healthy and vibrant communities. In the lead up to the provincial election on October 19th, the Fraser Valley Board commissioned a voter intention survey by the Mastel Group. And when residents in Abbotsford and Mission, which were combined for the survey, were asked what they thought were the most important provincial issues, they responded by picking these three issues. Cost of living / inflation was number one at 69%. Housing affordability was next at 60%, and healthcare came in third at 54%. So on that note, let's see what our candidates here today have to say on these critical issues affecting our community in Abbotsford overall. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gurdeep. Okay, I'll also introduce my colleague from the Fraser Valley Indo Canadian Business Association to come and take your seat as well. And now we will move into what you've come to talk about. So why is the Chamber and all of our different partners hosting tonight's all candidates meetings? Because we represent businesses. And so tonight's conversation will be a business-focused conversation. You'll hear lots of questions about operating small businesses, challenges, opportunities, and really this will be an opportunity to dive in with each of the candidates about where they stand on supporting businesses in our community. I'd like to introduce our moderator for the night, Vijay Manuel, and I thought, who could be better than somebody who has led with character in our community to guide tonight's conversation in a way that's respectful and caring and lets us all learn a little bit more about our local candidates. So Vijay Manuel is the head of schools at MEI, largest independent school in the province of BC, with a K-12 body of nearly 1,600 and a staff of 250. His career in education and leadership spans 28 years, including 20 years in the Abbotsford School District as a teacher, vice principal, and principal, and 8.5 years as head of MEI schools. Vijay, I'm thrilled to have you here. I'm going to invite you on the stage to go through the rules of today's proceedings and to begin our question and answer with the candidates. So welcome, Vijay.
Well, good evening and a warm welcome to each of you. I also want to just thank our candidates for putting your names forward, being willing to serve. So thank you to each of you. These candidates' meetings are an opportunity to help you and me, voters, to make informed decisions on our provincial vote. This is a nonpartisan event, and our event is being recorded. It'll be uploaded to YouTube after. It is not being live streamed, so it will come up later. Now, there are some rules for us to follow, as Alex mentioned. I think it's because I was a high school vice principal that I was selected, because we have rules here. So here are the rules. First of all, the all candidates meetings exist to inform Chamber members, the business community, and the general public of the platforms and qualifications of candidates. Platforms and qualifications. All candidate comments during the meeting should pertain to this goal. Candidates also must respect the time limits allotted. Candidates are not permitted to interrupt other candidates' opening or closing remarks or the initial answer to a question. Candidates also must observe proper decorum. That means offensive language, personal attacks, or disruptive behavior would not be appropriate. It doesn't sound like any of our candidates. I've met them all, so it needs to be said. In terms of questions, all of our questions were pre-submitted by the business community, and they have not been shared with our candidates. The candidates selected to speak first will be at random, and you will have 60 seconds to answer the question without interruption. Now, there's something called the rebuttal card. Okay, can you guys hold up your rebuttal cards? Let's just practice this. So the rebuttal card, everyone has two for the entire evening. Candidates may use their rebuttal to interject following another candidate's answer or to pose a follow-up question. You will have 30 seconds to pose your rebuttal question, and the person being asked will have 30 seconds to answer. I will end the question and answer period to ensure that in time so that we have enough time for 3-minute closing remarks as well. Okay, you guys follow that? Okay, here we go. So let's start with the opening statements. Each of you will have 3 minutes. Please introduce yourselves, why you are running for MLA, and anything else you would like to say within that 3 minutes. We will begin with the independent candidate, Amandeep Singh.
Praise be to the Almighty Jesus. Praise be to Allah. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Fateh. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. My name is Amandeep Singh, and I'm not a politician. I'm here because I'm greedy. I'm greedy for God's grace and for His love and for the respect of the people. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm running. My background, I'm just a simple guy. I'm a physical education instructor on a kids program. I've been coaching soccer for over 20 years. I work as a kinesiologist in different physiotherapy clinics. And my future might be in those physical activities or in the physiotherapy clinic as well. But for now, God has put me on this path. And there's several reasons for that. But I just want to say that to serve the people is one of the greatest things that a service that a person can do. If I believe in serving God Almighty, and I always say this, and therefore I have to serve His people, God's people. And she's going to hate me for saying this, but I mean, I don't even listen to my wife. And I get in trouble for this sometimes, but I know at the end of the day that I'm going to bed. I'm doing the right thing. And I know right now the things that are going on, speaking with people on a ground level, speaking with the farmers, speaking with truckers, speaking with the homeless encampments, speaking with small business owners, speaking with students, speaking with seniors, healthcare workers. Everybody is in a situation where they don't want to be in. And it's who's going to change this? It's not a one-person job. But I believe that together, we can achieve this. We all want to do what is right, I believe. And, God has set me on this path. When I got my first 7 signatures at the beginning, it was very tough. It took about 2.5 hours. I don't know if I wanted to go back or not, but I knew God was testing me, that it wasn't going to be easy, God said. I went back, got a lot more, and the final 10 were harder than the first 7. And by God's grace, I'm here. So I'm here to serve the people, and that's all I'd like to do. And, the rest is up to the public, what they want to choose. But that's the true purpose, and we can do this with or without any type of a political party. I believe independent people can also make the difference, because therefore I'm not bound by any rules or party initiatives, and I stand truly for the people. Thank you very much.
Okay, next we will have the Conservative Party of BC candidate, Bruce Banman.
Thank you very much. And first up, I'd like to thank Sarah and Amandeep for putting their name forward. Entering into political life is not for the faint of heart. It definitely isn't. So a little bit about me. I was a chiropractor before I ran to be the mayor. I was the mayor. I'm proud to be the first mayor in 18 and a half years to help deliver a 0% tax increase or tax freeze. And we did that without laying people off and without reducing services. Those who know me know that I'm a strong voice. I'm a fighter. I fight on behalf of the people that live in my riding. I'm very proud to do that. And I think the important thing that people need to ask themselves in this election more than any is, what is better now than it was 8 years ago? The economy is not better. Housing prices and rental prices are not any better. Healthcare certainly is not any better. Crime, I never thought in my lifetime that in broad daylight I would hear a story of someone being attacked with a machete. Addiction, mental illness, 39% of businesses are expecting to close within the next 2 years, those that were interviewed from the BIA. We have forestry is in trouble. What used to be the backbone of our economy was the forestry industry. Merritt, when the NDP took over, had 6 mills. The last one has now decided that it's going to close as well. Mining takes 25 years. The oil and gas industry is also in trouble. We have the record debt that we've ever had, $9 billion in this year alone, and $14 billion coming forward. Education is not any better, especially for our students that want to go on to vocational or advanced education. You know, and I would say with regards to our current leader, David Eby, he's proven that he can't be trusted. The backbone of his platform, the carbon tax, as soon as he got into trouble, he flip-flopped on it. He's flip-flopped on this absolutely tragic experiment with regards to handing out drugs in our streets, and he submitted last night that too was a mistake. Does he really mean it? Or is he just saying it to get reelected? So I would say that it's time for a change, it's time for common sense, and I would humbly ask that you vote not only for myself, but those that are part of the Conservative team moving forward. We will bring positive change to this province. Thank you.
Okay, and we will now hear from the New Democratic Party of BC candidate, Sarah Cooner.
Hello, everyone. I want to start off by thanking Alex Mitchell for the territorial land acknowledgement. I am grateful for the opportunity to meet here on the lands that belong to the Samet and Mathaqui people. I recognize our responsibility to work towards reconciliation and respect for all Indigenous people. My family works in healthcare, education, agricultural, and small business sectors within our community, and have instilled in me a deep appreciation for the challenges that we all face. I have sat and listened to my family members talking about the things that they're experiencing in the classrooms, in long-term care systems, in their businesses, and in their homes. I am honored to have been nominated to represent the BC NDP to champion the solutions that work for these challenges. The BC NDP has shown up for you. We will continue to do so. Abbotsford is a community that deserves our ongoing investment. I was born and brought up here. I went through our public school system. I attended the University of the Fraser Valley. I lived here through my master's degree, and I've advocated for our children and families through my work at our Fraser Valley Child Development Center. I have fought for our healthcare workers as a board member of the Health Sciences Association, and I believe that this is a community where we should all have access to quality healthcare, education, affordable groceries, opportunities for economic growth and development, and to a safe and comfortable environment overall. We are proud of our community. We find joy in everything that it has to offer. We have grown and we have developed, and that is a testament to the resilient and the passionate members of our community. That is a testament to all of you. With the growth that we have seen, we have also faced a lot of challenges, but those challenges have been faced together as a community. We've all had frustrations with navigating the complicated services that our community has to offer. We, as the BC NDP, have shown our commitment to opening new hospital beds, to enhancing our critical and urgent care centers, as well as our long-term care facilities. We need to continue these efforts, to continue these commitments. I believe in investing in the systems that I will depend on to care for my parents. I cannot afford the risks of a government that will cut these resources. I need to fight for our grandparents, for our parents, and for our children. I am here before you with a steadfast and passionate focus on creating a better, safer Abbotsford by advocating for you, striving to create positive change in our society. In my relentless advocacy work at our Child Development Center and as a board director of the Health Sciences Association, I have been preparing for exactly this, to be an advocate for Abbotsford South in the legislature. my experiences, my perspectives, and the knowledge that I have gained, as well as the listening and advocacy skills that I've practiced, are essential for effective leadership. It is my responsibility, if elected, to ensure that every voice is heard.
Okay, thank you to our candidates. We're now going to begin the question and answer portion. I would like to call upon the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board to read their first question.
How specifically will you work with a largely disincentivized private sector development community in the Fraser Valley to ensure the housing supply that we need is actually built? And how will you work with the city to streamline development processes, overcome obstacles, challenges, and obtain buy-in?
So candidates will have 1 minute to answer. We'll start with Sarah Cooner.
The BC NDP is committed to improving the housing crisis that we are in right now. We recognize that there is work to do. We recognize that there are initiatives that deserve our attention and deserve plenty more work than we have done so far. What is needed to be understood is that these issues cannot be looked at as localized issues. These are global issues. If you take a look at the ways that our communities, BC and Abbotsford South specifically, match up to other provinces, to other countries, we are doing well. We are not done, but we are doing well. We are on track and we have room to improve.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Bruce Banman.
Thank you very much. And I think that you've touched upon something which is working with the private sector. And what the private sector has said, what I'm hearing from them is that they are mired in red tape and bureaucracy. And when I take a look at what the housing minister has done and what David Eby has done, is they have come to cities and basically said, thou shalt do it our way. Instead of saying, how can we better help you? And what John Rustad has done is he's put $1 billion on the table to add those things that you desperately need. Not everything in the NDP plan is bad, but it was not poorly thought out. How do you get the water and the sewer and the transit and the schools and the hospitals and all the rest of the things that are required? So you work with an industry and talk with them rather than talking down and telling them you'll do it our way or the highway. Unfortunately, there's been way too much under this NDP government of telling them how to do it instead of asking what is the best way to get our common goals achieved.
Okay, time. Thank you. Amandeep Singh.
Yes, I really believe that the housing industry is gone down the drain, so to speak here. It's very, before 25 years, 30 years, someone with a family used to be able to pay off a home. Now it takes about 25 years or 30 years to save up maybe for a home. And we don't even know what type of a home that is, or it's a studio or what it may be. So that's definitely that it needs to be changed, and the land utilization needs to be a lot better. The land needs to be allocated for low-cost income individual family housing, depending on what their family size and everything in their economic status, their income earnings. There's got to be land, allotted for homelessness. We have an encampment outside here, and everybody knows they need a place to go to stay. They can't just stay in tents all the rest of their lives. It has to be worked on provincially, maybe, possibly, obviously, with the federal government in hand. But ultimately, it has to be put down in the municipality that there needs to be land allocated for specific housing that can be affordable for people, not just buying multiple houses for someone as second, third, fourth house dwellings to put up for rent. But first-time buyers need to be put up as a priority.
Okay, time. Thank you. I'll now call on the ADBA to ask their first question.
With rising minimum wage mandates, the introduction of a minimum 5-day sick leave policy, and increasing costs of commercial lease space, small businesses are finding it increasingly difficult to survive. How does your government plan to address these challenges facing small businesses?
Okay, Bruce Banman, please.
Well, thank you very much. And again, this is one more thing where this NDP government has implemented things without actually talking with small business. And as you know, you're part of a BIA, and the BIA of BC has said that 39% of small businesses don't expect to be in business within 2 years, and 52% don't expect to be in business within 4 years. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy. The backbone. Most of us work for a small business. That is something that you should talk with and listen to small businesses. And it's been time after time after time this government has implemented things without understanding the catastrophic consequences that result with the decisions of not having thorough consultation. So what we would do and what we plan to do is reduce that burden and talk with businesses and make sure that they have a chance to actually survive moving forward.
Amandeep Singh.
Bruce is correct. The small businesses are the backbone of the economy of the country, actually. I believe in BC it's about over 80% or around 80% small businesses that, run in the province. And without them, I don't know what would happen. And we really need to support the small businesses at every way possible, because compared to the big corporations, they're at a big disadvantage. I believe there should be some policies put in place, whereas we can actually receive the full taxes from the big corporations, which could be used to be distributed to the smaller businesses and help with employee hiring, retaining, maybe even wage subsidy, and then used for marketing and advertising for the smaller businesses. And then obviously as well, like the low cost of their lease and rent and loans from banks would be a good idea, because right now with the minimum wage at what it's at, it's really hard for small businesses to survive and retain employees and to actually, give the service that they're giving, and it's coming at a higher price for everybody.
Okay, thank you. Sarah Cooner.
We at the BC NDP do place a high priority on supporting our small businesses, and we have implemented several initiatives to help small businesses thrive, as Bruce said. Those were done, though, with consultation of small business owners. The Small and Medium Business and Business Recovery Grant is something that is available to our residents and provides financial aid to businesses that are impacted by the pandemic. The Launch Online Grant Program is also available to our residents to help people create or improve their online presence so that they can compete in today's digital market. And the BC Increased Employment Incentive is also available, and that provides tax credits to businesses that create new jobs, boosting our economy in further ways. We keep hearing that the other parties are going to cut the tax. That's not informative. We absolutely need a business-friendly environment that encourages job action and job creation, but also job resilience. The BC NDP is prepared to take the steps to use a holistic approach to helping small businesses grow and thrive in our community.
Thank you. I should just clarify, ADBA is the Abbotsford Downtown Business Association. I will now call on the Fraser Valley Indo-Canadian Business Association to ask their first question.
Thank you. With the ongoing shortage of nurses and doctors in BC, many high-qualified healthcare professionals from overseas are working in labor fields because they cannot transfer their credentials. How will you commit to developing or supporting a program that streamlines the accreditation process, making it easier for foreign-trained nurses and doctors to integrate into BC's healthcare system and address the critical staffing shortages?
Okay, Amandeep Singh.
Yes, I actually recently came across somebody from the healthcare field, but also a lawyer who actually wrote their examinations to the NCA here prior to even arriving in Canada. So we need to implement something like that for the workers in the healthcare field, doctors and surgeons and nurses and anybody else, so that they can actually, come here and be able to be ready to work pretty quickly, because we need them. And as we're understaffed in the hospitals, and the hospital care workers they're overburdened as we speak. I also had a colleague, and he's from Iceland, and he said to me specifically that they have a bridging program, and by the time they're done grade 12, their education, they've got about 1.5 to 2.5 years of post-secondary education already completed. So that's probably something that we can also work towards, because then that way, that's less time post-secondary after grade 12 that the students can get, complete their education and then hopefully be ready and prepare themselves to get into the workforce.
Okay, Sarah Cooner.
Can I clarify, the question is related to people that are trained outside of Canada working in Canada. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So the BC NDP has always championed fair immigration systems. We are interested in helping individuals to integrate into our society, and we understand the impact of having people come here and not able to use the skills that they have trained for. We also understand the burdens on our healthcare system, the strains that we are on, and it is not only healthcare, it is education, it is many other fields. But we are, the BC NDP government is interested in bridging programs that will allow people to use the skills that they have gained, take advantage of the years of hard work that they have put in to educate themselves and to train to represent their fields. We need their help. We are prepared to integrate them into our society such that they can benefit not only their own families, their own lives, but also our society.
Thank you. Bruce Banman.
Thank you very much. I spoke with a medical doctor that was trained in Ireland that wants to come here. The NDP have had 7 years to fix this. There's only one time a year that a foreign trained medical doctor in British Columbia can actually do a test. We could have fixed this already. We could have. They chose not to. Here we have a shortage, and the NDP has sat on their hands for 7 years. This gentleman wants to work with his dad. It's the only place in Canada that only does this, I believe, once a year. It is an absolute travesty and a waste that we could have fixed. The other thing we could have done is we could have been training people right here. We could have waited and done the SFU medical school a lot sooner waiting until just before the election to announce that that's going to happen. We could hire back our healthcare workers that we fired. There's many things we can do that we can improve the system that we have, and unfortunately they have sat on their hands until the last midnight hour, and then all of a sudden they're going to fix it. I don't trust them.
Okay, thank you. I will now ask the Abbotsford Chamber to read their first question.
We hear a lot about the cost of living and affordability crisis in this province, but when we survey our businesses, we know that there is also an affordability cost for businesses with the rising cost of simple operations, labor costs going up. We've also heard from businesses that some have chosen to leave the province and move to other jurisdictions due to perceived economic opportunity and lower costs. What would you do to address the rising cost environment that Abbotsford's business owners are facing? And what would you say to them to encourage them to stay in this community and in this province for a positive economic future?
Okay, Sarah Cooner.
I have already listed the initiatives that the BC NDP has focused on, but I will list them again. The small and medium-sized business recovery grant, our launch online grant program, and our BC increased employment incentive are all available to our residents. Beyond that, we are working to create more opportunities for people that will also give back to our community. We are creating jobs by investing in the resources that exist. We are expanding the West Coast Express. We are expanding our healthcare system. We're focusing on supporting our farmers, and we're focusing on offering better rights to the foreign workers that come into work in our farms by offering MSP services and offering ways that we can support them. We're also focused on infrastructure and development. All of these different things that build our community are opportunities for us to not only make job opportunity, but make our community more resilient and more sustainable.
Amandeep Singh.
Sorry, could you just repeat the question one more time?
For sure. So there's an affordability crisis for businesses, and many are choosing to make difficult decisions and looking at other jurisdictions with which to operate in. And so the question is, what would you do to address the rising cost environment that Abbotsford's business owners are facing? And what would you say to them to encourage them to stay in this community and in this province for a positive economic future?
Well, I honestly believe that at this point, saying is probably the least that they're going to listen to me. But I mean, we really need to work together, as I said earlier, that we need initiatives, policies that do help the small businesses in terms of like retaining employees. That's one of their biggest costs, and anything that's produced locally to help it be produced at a cost that's affordable for them to be able to manufacture and to sell or whatever it is that they need locally here rather than importing materials and anything else that they're using. Along with that, the rent and the cost needs to be brought down. Loans from banks need to be given at a very minimal rate. In Bangladesh, the leader right now that's leading the country, he actually established, low-cost loans for people that were even living in the poverty line. So if they can do something like that, I'm sure we can do that here as well. It just needs to be, the idea just needs to be, put forward. So it can be done.
Bruce Banman.
Thank you very much. Well, the first thing that we are going to do is get rid of the carbon tax. We're also going to get rid of the fuel surcharge. That works out to 36 cents a liter. That is an astronomical change to most small businesses. Small businesses, as I mentioned, are planning on shutting their doors. 1 out of 3 are planning on leaving, and 1 out of 2 youth are planning on leaving. That frightens the tar out of me, and it should frighten the tar out of everybody here. What you do is you make sure that you create an atmosphere in which businesses can survive. What this NDP government has done is systematically put layer upon layer upon layer of added cost to small business. What would I say to small business? Help is on the way. Vote for a conservative government, and we will make sure that the economy is robust again. We've got your back, and we will help you and get there in time so that you do not have to close your doors.
Thank you. I'll ask the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board to read their second question.
With increasing demand for rental housing in the region, what specific measures will you take to support renters and small-scale landlords while balancing affordability and the viability of the rental market?
Bruce Banman.
Well, thank you very much. Let's face it, rents are out of control. They have been for a long time. The NDP promised 114,000 homes. They've delivered about a tenth of that, 14,000. What you do is you make sure that you embrace the private sector to be able to build rental properties. That's how you lower rents. The most successful program Canada ever had was the MURB program, the Multiple Urban Rental Building or Residential Building Program. It was a tax incentive. And you do that, you provide tax incentives, and you also provide a way to reduce the tape and the timeline. And what John Rustad has said, we will go to cities that want to improve this and provide $1 billion, provided the cities in return speed up the processing process. It takes longer now to build a building in Vancouver than it did to win World War II. Something has to change. The red tape and bureaucracy has to change. You need to stop treating those that want to invest as if they're the enemy and embrace them. You need to help them.
Sarah Cooner.
So the BC NDP is interested in improving this for all residents and in ways that will benefit both the renter and the owner. We have initiated things like the Secondary Suite Investment Plan, which aims to help homeowners to create affordable housing by adding secondary suites to their properties. Within this, we're also offering to provide up to 50% of the cost of renovations, up to $40,000. $40,000 that you could use to update your suites and offer affordable housing options for people like students, people that are new to our communities, and that need a place to live that is reasonable and accessible. That's still good money that you're getting from these. There's also an incentive to use a forgivable loan to make those changes to your house and to upgrade your home. And the loan is forgived based on what the amount of money that you charge for rental is. If you charge even slightly under the rest of the housing market and the rental market's agreed upon value, you are sorry, I ran out of time.
You can finish your thought.
Okay, if you're just under the market value, you will get a good chunk of that back, and that is something that you can use to give back into our community. You can use to be able to afford groceries, and you can use to be able to live comfortably in our society.
Amandeep Singh.
First of all, we got to decide whether we're going to, build housing, infrastructure housing for rent or for ownership. How long are we going to actually live there by renting for the rest of our life and pass away just paying rent? We have to figure this out that, hey, listen, if we're going to build something, it's got to have some type of rental control. And if it's dependent on how your income and salary is, I believe that would be a good place to start. But at the same time, that the projects that are being done, they should be, it should be put forward that these projects are not just for the builders and developers to make big millions and millions of dollars. There's builders out there that would like to, build stuff that's still the same quality, but at a lower cost and affordable for families and for seniors. This stuff is not out there. Not out there right now, but it can be. And speeding up the process and, the permits and stuff like that's obviously a big part of it. But to actually make it affordable, is the key word here. And how are we going to do that? That's for, in the local jurisdictions, municipalities, and for the developers to decide at what rate we're going to, sell these at. And that should be communicated to the people prior to the development proposals even while they're taking place. Because if a one-bedroom studio is going to sell for $700,000, that's 300 square feet. Sorry, I don't believe that's affordable for anybody.
Time. Thank you. I'd like to call on the ADBA, the Abbotsford Downtown Business Association, to read their second question.
Thank you. It's a two-part question about one topic. Businesses are closing simply due to the fatigue contending with theft and criminal activity inside their stores, let alone in their community. The Securing Small Business Rebate program has failed our businesses due to a complex application process. There are millions of unallocated dollars available to businesses within this program. Would your party extend the preventative program to allowing the cost of security guards to assist businesses in mitigating crime and vandalism within their stores? And two, would your party increase the amount of the one-time funding for small businesses that currently only can recover $1,000 to $2,000 within the program?
Amandeep Singh.
Yes, in terms of the cost of security guards, I believe, within obviously looking at further detail, that would be a good idea. If the cost of theft is increasing, that would be a good idea. Secondary, you said $1,000 to $2,000 worth of the.
Currently, the program is $1,000 to $2,000 that you can recover.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and with that, we could add funding to it, but ultimately, we would have to also look at that. Can we actually cut down the crime? Therefore, if the crime is cut down, then therefore the funding would remain the same, will possibly come down. And if it really needs to be increased, yes. But we would only look at to bring down the crime and what's causing the crime in the first place.
Bruce Spanman.
I'm sitting here thinking about we actually need security guards in businesses these days. I think the real question is, why are we even talking about that? We're talking about that because of the rampant crime, the revolving door that has been allowed underneath this current government. This government doesn't even ask for violent repeat offenders for them to be held without bail. They could, but they have directed Crown prosecutors not to. How you deal with this is you deal with the underlying problem, which is the rampant crime. How many of us don't recognize the country that we live in compared to even 20 years ago? So I think this is dealing with the symptom, or do you deal with the cause? You deal with the underlying cause, which is the rampant crime and hopelessness that's going on. You can do that by many, many ways. Let's deal with the mental illnesses out there, with the drug addiction, which is fueling much of this petty crime in small businesses, and make sure that we deal with that problem instead of having to pay for security guards.
Sarah Cooner.
I would like to say that the BC NDP is interested in a holistic approach to this. I agree that we need to focus on security and safety of our residents. I cannot answer what the dollar amount that we may be able to contribute to that is, but what I can say is that we are after a fulsome approach that actually addresses the underlying causes of crimes in our neighborhoods. We have invested in social programs, health services, and addictions treatments, and we have shown a deep commitment to ensuring public safety. We also have not introduced any kind of catch and release program. Instead, we have listened to the Attorney General's directive, which set a number of days for public offenders to be incarcerated. And that is something that specifically targets reoffenders. And we support this. We have supported this and we will continue to. This also includes expanding the reverse onus provisions, where the accused is actually responsible for proving why they should be released, rather than it being up to the Crown to prove why they should be detained. We are not interested in allowing for this to continue. We are interested in the longevity and the sustainability of Abbotsford.
Thank you. I'd like to call on the Fraser Valley Indo-Canadian Business Association to read their second question.
Thank you. Extortion and threats from organized crime have become a growing concern for many businesses in our community. What is your plan to address this issue? And how will you ensure that businesses in our community feel safe reporting such incidents without the fear of retaliation?
Sarah Cooner.
This is an issue that targets specific people in our communities. We have recognized a pattern, and we are willing to work with many different levels of government to address this problem. This is not a problem that can be handled with the provincial government alone. We, the BC NDP, are prepared to work with our municipal partners as well as the federal government. We understand that this is something that is happening on a global scale. This is something that is happening outside of Canada, but impacting our local residents. It is impacting our local businesses. We see restaurants that outside it says opening summer 2024, and we know what is happening. We know what is going on around the world, and we know why it is impacting our neighbors. We are interested, again, in the long-term effects of what we are seeing and how to address those problems. These are global issues that require local solutions, and we are prepared to advocate for them.
Amandeep Singh.
Yeah, this is a pretty serious issue. Many businesses have been impacted by this, ranging from all over BC, different parts of BC, and I believe that it is not just a municipal or provincial issue; it's actually internationally. So I believe that for one, that we need to work with the different forces here to actually get together, collaborate, and to have laws that hold people accountable, not just let them find out, catch them, and release. We need to more people are, maybe thinking about this long and hard criminals, that if they have a longer sentence or a harsher sentence, they're probably not going to do this anymore, right? We can't just keep security guards all the time in front of somebody's business, right? It's not, financially, it's not, long term, it doesn't work. But the crime and the punishments, the laws do need to be changed that benefit the people and business owners and everybody in the communities.
Bruce Banman.
Thank you very much. I think the first thing we have to acknowledge is that, this is a premier that wrote a book on how to sue the police and security guards. Is it any wonder that crime is worse? Seriously. What our government would do if we are elected is we would go after organized crime by increasing the funding for law enforcement, number one. We need more people on the streets to be able to do that, and we need to support the police that are out there, and I want to thank them for the job that they do now. We also need to have harsher penalties for gang-related crimes. Enough is enough. We need to take our streets and our cities back, and we need to end the revolving door of justice that's been going on for far too long. So our government would increase that, and we would also increase the penalties. And if we have to, we will use the notwithstanding clause to be able to do it. We will get things under control again by putting the resources on the front lines with the police that are there, and by increasing the penalties and making sure criminals are actually held to justice.
Okay. Well, this is exciting. We have our first rebuttal. Sarah Cooner, you will have 30 seconds to either ask a question or make a comment.
I want to comment on decriminalization in relation to the last comment, or the last response. Decriminalization is an initiative that emphasizes the importance on focusing police initiatives on these larger scale crimes. We need those resources to be allocated to things like Bruce said, drug trafficking and organized crime. These are the larger issues here. Criminalizing is not the answer. Recovery is the answer. And things like decriminalization, which the opposing parties are steadfast against, that is where our resources are going. That is why we are not able to focus our limited resources on things like organized crime.
Okay, I will call on the Abbotsford Chamber to read their second question.
Thank you. So we know that BC is facing some serious economic challenges. The Chamber's talked a lot about how incomes per capita are not expected to recover their pre-pandemic trend. There's weak private sector job creation, growth in the public sector, but weak in the private sector. And there's an outflow of BC residents right now. While Abbotsford is still seeing the benefit of population growth, how will you ensure our local economy can overcome the provincial challenges that are causing BC to fall behind on virtually every economic indicator? And where does investing in our infrastructure, such as transportation and flood mitigation, rank on your agenda?
Bruce Benman.
I'll tell you, the first thing we need to do is we need to widen the freeway and just stop moving dirt around and actually get the lanes done. And we've committed that it'd be 6 lanes all the way to Chilliwack. We are a portal. We're the hub of transportation. We are the hub of goods and services. And the amount of time that is wasted with people idling in traffic is just outrageous, and it needs to come to an end. So number one, you increase the speed in which you can actually do business. Number two, is you actually work again with businesses by creating an atmosphere in which they can actually thrive. For far too long, this government has treated businesses as if they are just an ATM machine that they can go to again and again and again and ask for more money. And it needs to end. But when it comes to our education system, we also need to make sure that our youth have the access to be educated in areas where we need the skilled jobs and the education that's required to go with some of those. There are places, the businesses that are looking for people and can't get them because they're either migrating to other places else, or they can't get access in a timely manner to the education so that they can fill those badly needed jobs.
Amandeep Singh.
I remember one time that Mayor Ferguson had said that before he passed away, he said that, when I was 15, there was 2 lanes on the freeway going east, west and east. And now I'm 65 and there's still 2 lanes, both sides. And that's the reality. And if we don't connect, actually, I'm really believing that we need to have a SkyTrain from Chilliwack, not just the lanes, but a SkyTrain that connects all the way to Vancouver, right? So that would be one thing. Businesses that have moved from or were going to be here possibly, I believe the beer plant in Chilliwack and John Deere, et cetera, companies such as those, why in Chilliwack? We're far bigger and superior than Chilliwack in many ways, and this should be the hub of like all the innovation that should be happening in the Fraser Valley, I believe. So we need to attract those businesses here, but we need to have the means and the infrastructure to do that. If we do that, then we have jobs creation that are happening for the youth and for people that are wanting to live and move into Abbotsford, right? So that's what we need.
Sarah Cooner.
Infrastructure is a key part of our daily lives. This is very much a focus of the BC NDP. We have seen significant investments in infrastructure projects thanks to the funding from the Canada Community Building Fund. This year alone, $15.3 million have been allocated for essential projects like railroad crossings, roadway improvements, new traffic signals, and plenty more than that. As far as the highway goes, let me be clear that this is already part of the long-term plan. I'll remind you that our Minister of Transportation has already stated that it is indeed our goal to have those lanes going all the way to Chilliwack. But we need to be realistic. We know that building 6 lanes to Chilliwack, yes, it is a commitment that we are making, but it is going to take resources and equipment. Resources and equipment that, remind you, we did have, but we didn't implement under the past government. It was the BC NDP that championed the efforts to improve the highway from Langley to Chilliwack, and we have gotten that work started. We are committed to finishing it. We've also been working to expand the West Coast Express. We are not using the TransLink option of the SkyTrain at this moment because that is under municipal jurisdiction. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry,
You finish your sentence.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. But yes, we are focusing on the West Coast Express, and it's been approved to run through Abbotsford, stopping in Abbotsford, all the way to Chilliwack. This is a huge deal for us.
Okay, we have a rebuttal from Bruce Banman, you have 30, we'll make it 40 seconds to either make a comment or ask a question.
We're still waiting for the Massey Tunnel. We're still waiting for the Patello Bridge, which is replacing 4 lanes with 4 lanes. We've said we would widen that. We are still waiting for the highway that's been announced. I don't know how many times, I've lost count. This government is great at making promises and announcements and photo ops. They just can't seem to get the job done. It should have been done already. When I was the mayor, we were talking about widening this, and we had an agreement to widen it. The first thing the NDP did when they got in power was to put it on hold. We need enough excuses and just start getting the infrastructure done that was promised. Promised. It's easy to promise. It just seems they can't get the job done. We will get the job done.
Okay. All right. I'm going to move into some of the questions that were posed to me. They were submitted to our business leaders. I will read them as they are written here. Question number 1, how will you support community police agencies to increase their capacity and deal with the increase in homelessness and criminal activity that is destabilizing downtown communities and retail businesses? We'll start with Amandeep Singh.
Yes, we need to actually enable and help our police any way possible, whether that's hiring and training new recruits. We need to get, youth need to be actually interested in doing so. And maybe lately that the hiring and the basically being interested is not happening with the policing. And that's unfortunate. In terms of the homelessness, we have to look at why they're on the street in the first place. And that's a big process in terms of like how they got there. And we need to intervene prior to them being on the street. And if they're on the street, how do we get them out? So that mental services, health services, actually rehabilitation services, getting them integrated, ready back to, get back into the community. And how do we do that? There's programs in the Scandinavian countries that help with that. They actually offer a place to live that's owned by people, removing that are getting them out of poverty. And they do actually have a 80% success rate, because they don't let them go back out on the street and just go work at Tim Hortons. They actually give them training, either culinary training or trades training, and they get them slowly, bit by bit, back on their feet and integrated into society.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Sarah Cooner.
So we need to understand that if you actually take a moment to look at the statistics, if you look at the top 10 places in Canada that have had the greatest improvements in terms of reducing crime, Abbotsford is in there. Abbotsford is in the top 10. Surrey is one of the cities with the least increase. BC is doing well, and we are not finished. Once again, we are not done. We are continuing our efforts. Safety will remain our priority. Supporting law enforcement while addressing the root cause of crime is what we are focused on. We are taking a holistic approach. We understand that our homeless population needs our support. We understand that people suffering with mental unwellness are needing our support. We understand that addictions needs recovery. We are addressing this from a multifaceted approach to find meaningful ways that matter to our community so that all of us have the equal opportunities to live, to thrive, and to do well in our communities.
Bruce Banman.
So in addition to hiring more police, which is part of the solution, we also have to integrate addiction and mental health treatment. We really do. This is driving part of it. And we need to do that and put that into our justice system. And I would say that the third of our beds for addiction, we now found out, went empty. A third. You can't wait for months if you're an addict and you need care. You need to make sure that there's a place for that now. We need to enact world-leading rehabilitation programs to help individuals actually exit a gang life. And we need to also work on preventing them get there in the first place, which we go to our kids. And we make sure that our kids understand that this is not a good path to get down to. It ends badly. And we need to support our community policing and create a provincial school liaison officer program to actually protect those at-risk kids. And then we need to look at things like restorative justice, which is a fantastic program. It's a low-cost program, and it actually is highly successful. All of these things together you can use to help deal with this underlying problem.
Thank you. The second question has to do with rising costs, inflation, and supply chain disruptions, which we've touched on already. Businesses in Abbotsford are struggling with rising costs, inflation, and supply chain disruptions, including a prolonged port shutdown earlier this year. What policies will you introduce to help alleviate these pressures? And how will you ensure that small and medium-sized enterprises can continue to thrive despite these economic challenges? We'll start with Sarah Cooner.
I've made a lot of mention about how we are trying to take holistic approaches to these localized issues. One part of that is focusing back on climate change. We believe in the facts around climate change, and we recognize the interruptions to our small business that are related to climate change. And we can't afford to keep risking that. We need an approach that recognizes what is yet to come. We see that the problems of tomorrow are already at our doorstep, and we are finding active, Abbotsford-focused, realistic solutions to these troubles. We are finding ways to mitigate concerns before they happen. We know that we need our streamlines between different parts of the province and different parts of the country and our hometowns to be accessible so that goods and services can be transported. We know that we need to invest in water storage in order to ensure food security. We know that we need to take a look at all of these different factors from a multifaceted viewpoint, including climate change when we're talking about businesses and when we're talking about local businesses.
Bruce Spanman.
Thank you very much. And I would say with regards to climate change, that the money that was promised and actually delivered from the federal government that was supposed to go to help prevent our farmers ended up going to a sewer line in Prince Rupert instead of helping prevent our farmers from a catastrophic flood again. That was under this NDP government. What we do is we have to take and make sure that we are taking the resources and appropriately applying them so that we can actually make a positive change in some of these things. And that has not been happening. With the greatest of respect with the NDP government, they have had 7 years to address most of these issues, and they've just failed miserably at them. It is absolutely time that we have a change. It's time for some common sense to apply again. And it's time that a government actually listens to the very businesses that are out there and the people that are out there and apply the resources on the ground that actually make some common sense and can actually affect some positive change.
Amandeep Singh.
Several things need to be done. I believe that any type of the smaller businesses, any type of material or any items that they do bring in for their use on their daily level, they need to be actually manufactured locally rather than always be brought in from China, and that needs to be done at a lower cost. So there might need to be implementation of certain, we have to work with the federal government to install or start developing factories or manufacturing plants here in Canada rather than always looking outside of Canada. That would be a starting point because that could also help in construction and many other businesses as well. On another note, with the farmers, we do have to work with the farmers to help them with their, with their daily activities, their livelihood. Because from the floods here, everybody knows what happened, and some of them still haven't recovered or are trying to recover. The policies that are put in place, however, for the farmers currently do not work. So they need to be changed at the, at the provincial level because they do not benefit the farmers whatsoever. That's speaking on behalf of the farmers from them, and several of these things need to be changed to benefit the whole community of Abbotsford.
Thank you. This next question again touches on floods, but also droughts. Water is a major issue in our ag sector. How will you support community-led solutions to address droughts and floods in our region? And we'll start with Bruce Spanman.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the money that was supposed to go to prevent that actually went to a sewer line in Prince Rupert. So I guess this NDP government doesn't really, they say an awful lot about wanting to protect farmers, but they don't. Actions speak louder than words in this case. This government, agriculture is near and dear to my heart. This is the most productive farmland in all of Canada. We have to ensure that the farmers have water, and we do have a plan moving forward to ensure that farmers actually have the adequate water, because under our government, if elected, we will double the production of food. That's our goal. Water is an important part of that, Water's a big important part of that. We need to look at things like dugouts up north. It's not just, we need to make sure that we have the ability for farmers to be able to use water in innovative ways. We can use our universities to make sure that they have water saving initiatives that they can do to use the best amount of water for the crops. We've already done an awful lot with that. We need to do more with that. But we work with farmers instead of just shutting them down with no science like they did in Westland so that they couldn't harvest their last crop.
Time. Amandeep Singh.
The farmers are still recovering from the natural disasters, the floods that occurred. And it's, I went over there several times and I saw firsthand, they're still recovering. It's very bad. It's awful. There's technologies out there that are used worldwide in Europe and other countries as well, where the farming is very they don't have to spend a lot of money to do so, but the initiative's got to be put forward with the government, possibly even federally for the funding, but provincially it can definitely be done. But we have to do this on a ground level, talking with the farmers and what their needs are, rather than just thinking for what they need. We need to speak with them and ask them and communicate that with them. There's such things, technologies out there now called hydroponic farming and aeroponic farming, where they no longer use soil. They just use a small amount of water with some minerals, and it's done vertically. And, that's growing very, very big, and it can be used to, reduce the importation of fruits and vegetables that we do right now and have that happen actually here locally.
Sarah Cooner.
I'm going to start by saying that the BC NDP government has invested in response to the floods and the climate emergencies that we experienced. We have invested in emergency response measures. We have invested in infrastructure in order to mitigate impending events like the floods that we saw, like the fires that we saw, in order to move forward in a sustainable way. The BC NDP has committed a lot of resources into strengthening our water systems against climate threats, including the construction of new wells and a water treatment plant. We are focused on ensuring reliable and resilient water supply for our communities, for our farms. This is highly essential both for our daily living, but also for our agriculture sector. The agriculture sector of Abbotsford, specifically Abbotsford South, needs our attention, and we will pay attention to these. We will find water solutions or water storage solutions, and we will find food security solutions.
Hey, thank you. I think just want to pause and say you're doing a great job. These are on the fly. Thank you for your responses. This next one has to do with community safety and around harm reduction. Do you support targeted investments to improve community safety, including the implementation of a comprehensive policy framework and investments that shift the focus from just harm reduction to include prevention, treatment, and enforcement? Amandeep Singh.
Yes, the harm reduction obviously is a key issue here in the community here, and we need to do everything possible to keep the community safe. I agree with that. However, the way that's being done, and speaking with the people at the homeless shelter and the encampments here, we need to speak with them to see what they want and not what we think is best for them, because what we think is best for them is obviously not working, right? And maybe there's some discommunication on both sides, but I'm pretty sure we can come together on an agreement on a lot of things. But that needs to be done on a ground level, and we need to speak with the people living there to actually have that. Otherwise, we're not decreasing anything. We're going to be always increasing everything, and the harm reduction that we're trying to do is actually causing more harm than decreasing harm.
Bruce Banman.
Last night during the debates, David Eby admitted that his current policy is an absolute failure. We are looking at more deaths from drug overdoses now than we ever have. There's a 13-year-old girl here locally and a 13-year-old boy locally that died from an overdose. What we need is treatment. What we need is rehab. What we need is compassion. Letting people live in a tent when there are a third of the beds that we've found out that went unfilled is not compassionate treatment. Harm reduction is part of the solution. But what's more important, and the missing link, is being able to get people into treatment in a timely manner, being able to have parents have the right to take their child and making sure that they have the treatment. That has been a failure. This system is not working, and we have to admit we need to stop and address this and start looking at it in a totally different way than we have been. David Eby admitted it's a failure. It's time for change. It's time for a conservative government to take the reins.
Okay, thank you. Sarah Cooner.
Decriminalization is not a failure. We need further investment and resources to ensure that it is properly moderated and serves its purpose. We agree that there have been moments where it has felt as though it is not successful, but not a failure. The intended purpose of this sort of intervention is for people to be diverted from the criminal justice system, again, freeing police to focus on organized crime and larger issues. But we are diverting out of the criminal justice system and into the healthcare system in order to not only provide harm reduction resources, but also recovery resources. Recovery needs to be our focus. We need for people to be healthy. This is our focus. This is what we are aimed at doing. We are not interested in making taking drugs easier for young people in our society. That is not what we are after here. We are interested in legalizing temporarily. That does not mean that it is allowed. That doesn't mean that it is safe. We are finding ways to use medical grade alternatives to toxic street drugs. Legalization is not what we're talking about. Decriminalization does not equal legalization.
Thank you. This next question is along the same lines, but maybe you could focus on the impact on business, which is how it'll end. What are your specific plans and targeted investment commitments to deal with the complex challenges of mental health, addictions, and housing, and their impacts on business? We'll start with Sarah Cooner.
So as I have said several times tonight, we are looking for a holistic approach, right? We are looking for ways that we can help our communities avoid these problems in the future. In Abbotsford South, we have seen the impacts of homelessness firsthand. We have implemented immediate, long-term plans to prevent and reduce homelessness. The plan is to focus on providing stable housing. The plan is to focus on mental health resources. The plan is to focus on recovery. We are not interested in quick fixes that will be short-lived. We are focused on strategies like the housing first approach. But that is not a complete solution. That is part of our solution. The housing first approach gets people into stable housing and then provides the necessary supports, community supports that keep them housed. These are supports that will offer jobs for our community members. These are supports that will keep our communities safe. Initiatives like the Community Homelessness Information Application also help outreach workers to provide timely and effective services. Again, opening new jobs in outreach work. But it is more than that. We are looking, again, for the root causes. We need to increase our mental health services. We need the detox beds in Fraser Health that the BC NDP government opened up. And we need to work in collaboration with other levels of government and with our community partners. Longevity is what we are looking for. We need long-term, permanent solutions.
Amandeep Singh.
Well, we know that approximately 5 people die almost every day from these drugs that are on the streets right now. And in the last year, 2 years, over, 2,500 people died per year when these safe sites were, being implemented or people were accessing them. So I don't believe that this is the right approach. Actually, what we need to do is actually look at the treatment centers or rehabilitation centers and see how many, instead of giving them so much money, seeing what their report card is and how many people they've actually helped and recovered and integrated back into society. Otherwise, what's the point of keeping investing over and over again in these treatment centers if they've got nothing to show for it? And if our homelessness situation and crime is on the rise, then that means that it's not working. So if the investments that need to be made, there needs to be an accountability for that. Right now, I don't see that happening. But obviously, I am someone that's going to support that. But it's got to be done on a strategic basis, and that's got to be that the centers that are offering treatment and the people that are recovering, if they're being helped, then there needs to be a way that we need to be able to see those results, and some sort of an accountability, a charge sheet, something, how many people are being treated and admitted and coming out clean again and integrated back into society is one of the better ways to do it.
Bruce Banman.
So I heard an awful lot about a plan. We need a plan for this. We need a plan for that. We need a plan for this. This government has had a vast majority government for the last term. They could have implemented any plans they wanted, but they have not. They have failed. It's time that we actually get down, roll our sleeves up, and start dealing with this in a meaningful way. David Eby has failed the people in the streets. David Eby has failed to protect those. As was mentioned, it's actually about 7 people a day die from a drug overdose. A third of our beds are empty. We just found this out. David Eby has admitted that the plan that he put in place does not work, in spite of everyone saying, please stop this. We need to put people into treatment and rehab. We need to look at what other areas of the world have done, such as Portugal. There are solutions out there. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are other countries that have figured this out and are actually protecting people and turning the problem around. David Eby and the NDP, sadly, have failed us.
We have a second rebuttal from Sarah Cooner. You've got 45 seconds.
I have sat on the board of directors for the Health Sciences Association for the entire time period that decriminalization has been in effect. Healthcare professionals advocate for this. Healthcare professionals agree that this is the safest option for them in the hospitals and for the people on our streets. This is our way forward. But as far as things that the BC NDP government is doing, let's talk about Riverview. Riverview Hospital is a resource that we have not been using because we needed to correct things that were happening there. That is something that we are doing. We have been working with the Coquitlam people on existing redevelopment plans. These are plans that are in motion. We will open 2 state-of-the-art buildings that will allow us to reestablish the hospital grounds as a center for mental health treatment. This is something that we are providing to our communities. This facility will offer acute to long-term support for our members.
Okay, we are going to move to the closing statements. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to give their closing statement. In respect for all candidates, you are limited to the 3 minutes. We will begin with Amandeep Singh.
Once again, guys, I'm not a politician, but I'm one of you. I'm a member of this community for a very, very long time. When I graduated, I didn't realize that I would come to this, and one of my teachers from grade 12 is sitting here in attendance too. That's something very special that I got to see today after so many years. And I'm just here because I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing it for everybody. I'm doing it for the community. I'm doing it for families. I'm doing it for the children. I'm doing it for the seniors. I'm doing it for people that have been, impacted negatively, especially in the last several years. Pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, people are still recovering in many different industries, many different job fields. I spoke with a trucker the other night, and he's been out of work for almost 3 months now, right? And the burden on them is, you can't explain this, right? But you feel it. There's something wrong, right? There's something wrong that we cannot deny that, right? And what I'm saying is that, hey, listen, I don't have to listen to anybody but you, the community, the public. I have nobody else I have to answer to other than God is the people. And I'm not bound by anything. So, I have every concern, everything that's problems that we are facing in the community are my problems, as are yours, and we can work together to move past and to find solutions for these problems. But we can do it together, and I'm just counting on everybody's support. And I don't think that there's anything bigger than serving your community and than God Almighty. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amandeep Singh, our independent candidate. Now closing comments from Bruce Banman, Conservative Party of BC.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. And thank you to my colleagues here for putting their name forward. I am desperately worried about our youth and what's going to lie ahead for them. I have 3 grandchildren, one of which has moved out, second of which is about to, and then I have a 12-year-old. What scares me is that I am going to be packing up his stuff into his car. He's going to say to me, "Papa, I don't want to go, but I have to because I can't afford to live here and there's no future here. You were an MLA, why the heck didn't you fight for me?" That at the soul is what drives me to do this. Our children need a better future. This province has so much going for it. We have got all the resources that you could imagine, and they are being just let to sit idle. It takes 25 years to open up a mine in this province right now. Those are 30 to 40,000 jobs, predominantly union jobs, I might add, at over $100,000 each. The forestry sector is absolutely disappearing. And this government, rather than allow people to go after a fire, get in there and harvest the wood in a timely period, just lets it sit there and go to waste. We have to do something different than what we've been doing. Just the death from addictive drugs alone is a reason for change in this province. I will fight for you. I have fought for you. I've made some courageous decisions to fight for you. I'm the same guy I was for many of you that came and saw me as a chiropractor. I was involved in the healthcare field. I've run a small business. I know what it's like to pay others before you pay yourself. There is hope in this province, but it requires change. The NDP have had their turn. It isn't working out well for anybody, and I go back to my first question: what's better right now? What's better? Not much. And if your answer is the same as that, between now and the last day you can vote on the 19th, I humbly ask for you to vote for the Conservative Party of British Columbia, not only myself, but my team members across the province. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce Banman, Conservative Party of BC. And now to Sarah Cooner, New Democratic Party of BC candidate, for her closing comments.
I'm very proud to be sitting here in front of all of you. I am humbled by the participation of our community and the willingness of each of you to engage. To my opponents on the stage with me, I thank you for attending and speaking passionately about the issues that we've discussed tonight. We are all here because we want better for our community. The BC NDP is focused on improving our healthcare system more than we already have, with the hiring of new doctors and the focus that we have placed on long-term care centers. It is our vision to no longer have to see our loved ones suffering in the hospital waiting rooms. We see the amazing, hardworking frontline healthcare staff who deserve our continued investment. Cutting healthcare is not the answer. Privatization is not the answer. The BC NDP and I want to stabilize our housing market and cost of living, balancing housing affordability with long-term business development and growth initiatives. I work for a not-for-profit organization that benefits our children and families, but I'm concerned for what will happen to these much-needed services if we don't move forward with a BC NDP government. We can't afford to lose these valuable services. We can't afford to stop investing in ourselves, and we cannot afford not to invest in our children. We can't afford the conservative cuts. Throughout this campaign, I have been at your doorsteps, and I plan to continue to do that. I am focused on meeting you where you're at, seeing the things that are important to you, and working in collaboration with you and the agencies that we rely on. I will advocate to uphold the resources that our residents need, that employ our residents, that keep us healthy and keep us safe. I believe that each of us in this room and in the rest of our community share a vision for a better, cleaner, safer, and more prosperous Abbotsford South. As your MLA, I will remain focused on what will work, and I will remain focused, and I will work hard for the issues that matter to each of you. I hear you. We need to stop the increases in cost of living. We need access to affordable housing. We must work to mitigate the concerns that we all share with our healthcare systems. We need to provide our future generations with a sustainable and safe environment in order for them to move forward with their lives. I am driven by fact, by evidence, and by the truth. I believe strongly in the power of our community and the strength that we have when we're able to work together. Our goals should be grounded in a vision for a future that is inclusive, prosperous, and resilient. We, the BC NDP, have started that work. We are not done. We have shown that we are listening, and I will continue to listen. Allow me to be your voice. Let's make Abbotsford South a place where we can succeed, where our children can succeed, and where our grandchildren can succeed. I look forward to your vote, and I want to thank you for your time this evening.
Hey, thank you, Sarah Cooner, New Democratic Party of BC. I'd like to thank all our candidates for running respectful candidates, focusing on issues and on your qualifications. Can we give them all another big round of applause? And in closing, I'd like to thank you all for attending. Let's each of us spread the word. People need to vote. This is an important election. Visit electionsbc.ca for more information on how to vote. General voting day is October 19th, and we will reconvene at 7 o'clock this evening to connect with candidates from Abbotsford West. Thank you and good night.